Hi, this is Josiah, the podcast editor and grandson of Grandpa Don. Grandpa completely forgot to introduce our guest for this episode, so I am here to do that for him. Our guest for this episode of the podcast is Isabel. She was in a previous podcast, I'm pretty sure, after she graduated, but this time around, she has been brought back on to talk about her mission trip to Honduras in July of 2023. So I'll go ahead and give this back over to Grandpa and Isabel, and you can hear the really cool stories she's got to tell from her time in Honduras.
This will be my Grandpa Don podcast, and I'm going to be talking about Honduras with you.
Yeah.
And you want to tell me a little bit about, you can just say whatever you want about yourself as you went there and how you got there and what was the experience like.
Okay, so we left for the trip on July 12th, and that's where we flew over to Houston, and we stayed at this hotel for the night. It wasn't very nice, but it did the job. It was, I don't know, it just was very small and AC worked, but other than that, it just...
Cheap.
Yeah, it was pretty cheap, is what I'm saying. But, yeah, the next day we flew over into Honduras and, the first thing I think I noticed when we got there and we landed is just how interesting it is, like seeing that all the signs are in Spanish and nothing is in English. So it's just like that whole different aspect of like that whole different language. And then we went and stayed at the house of the Missioners of Christ. This was the team that we teamed up with and we did our mission work with.
Okay.
There was 11 of us from Focus Missions who went to go help with the Missioners of Christ. And then as well as some priests in training who were supposed to go to other countries to learn Spanish. So there were seminarians there that did that. So,
and they were from the United States, seminarians?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of them were from Texas.
And a lot of them
Yes. So we met up with all of them, and it was probably 50 people there who were going to be sent out.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And what we did for the first few days was just a lot of getting us prepared to be sent out into these small villages.
Sure.
Yeah, so what we mostly did was we prepared our souls kind of for it just by like praying a lot. We went to mass every morning. We did our daily prayers. And we also just did fun games to kind of get to know each other and to, just to...
Do a little team building,
maybe. Team building. Yeah.
That would be what I'd call it, maybe.
Yeah. And we learned different songs and different skits. And they also would we'd have little training sessions where they kind of just give us the information of what it was like in this country, what to expect when we're in the villages, kind of what the culture is. So we did a lot of that, and the last day that we were there at the Missioners of Christ, we got our teams. We figured out who's going to be on our teams, and it was just nice because we already talked to everybody and we kind of knew who people were. So
sure.
We had this one guy who was going to be on our team, but they just switched last minute, and this other guy joined our team. So that was very interesting. But we got sent out to the villages. We first went to the village, if I can remember off the top of my head, Llano Grande, it was called, in Honduras. And over there, they had no electricity in the town.
Okay.
So the house that we stayed at, it was someone's grandma And we just stayed in her house, and there wasn't electricity in there. It was very plain.
Yeah.
Just 2 beds. I think there was a solar light in there. But
that was it.
Yeah, that was it. Nothing else. We'd have a candle that we could light too.
Okay.
But other than that, no
So you learned what it's like to have the very primitive way of living.
Yes, very simple.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And so moving on, what we kind of did was in the mornings we would go and visit people in their homes. We had it scheduled out that we would go and visit certain people. So we'd split off in teams, and we just go into people's homes and just talk to them, see what they're like, ask them about like how they're doing with their life. We'd share the gospel with them.
Yep.
And then we'd pray for their intentions of like what their struggles are in the moment. And some of it was pretty powerful. There's this one man we visited, and he broke his arm that morning.
Oh my!
Because there's the soccer game going on the night before, and just a lot of people in town like go there, but then they drink a lot, and then just like they do it like all throughout the night, and then the next morning like accidents happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And he happened to be in the wrong place to have an arm broke, huh?
Yeah. So his family was just really affected by it, and they're just like,
of course,
their dad broke his arm, so that was.
Did he have any splint on it or any?
Yeah, he had to go to the doctor, and they got it.
They got a
fixed
little
up,
bit, but yes, traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what kinds of needs did they seem to have when you were asking for them?
Yeah.
To share.
So, yeah, we prayed for him, and we prayed for the wife. She was just really struggling too with that, and they just felt a lot more happier after that, and you could just see like more peace in their soul, and like their kids were just like watching all this happening in their.
So they got attention and support and prayers and
just listened.
Yes, that was very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did that, and then we also did programs for people at the church.
Sure. Okay.
So we did an adults program and a teenagers program. We just had church and adoration there, and we just do different talks too, which that was really nice. We'd invite people to it, and there was this one man who wasn't Catholic at all, didn't like believe in God really, and one of the groups, they asked him if he would want to go to this. And he was just like, no, I'm not going to go. But he ended up going for some reason, and he just attended it, and it was really beautiful. Just people who people who don't believe in that, like, still felt called to go and participate. And
so he was a person in that community. The people knew some around, or your group encountered him. Is that what it was?
Yeah, they did a house visit with him.
Okay.
And they talked to him. But he was not really feeling open to it when they were talking. But he accepted the invitation.
He decided to say yes. So you and this is now Spanish, being this is the main language, right?
Yes.
How was your Spanish?
Oh, okay. So
I had to ask, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first got there, my Spanish was pretty limited. But as we practiced before we went there a little bit, and it was still pretty limited when we were in the homes with people. But I didn't talk very much. I did a lot of listening though, and I could pick up on some things. But sometimes we always had translators with us.
Okay, you did that.
Yeah.
I have that. Okay, good.
So
we'd
have somebody who usually translated for us, or else we just have to sit there the whole time, and afterwards they translate.
Right.
Just depending on what was best.
That's right. But you had some Spanish to understand a little bit, at least, didn't you? Yeah. So you're in these little communities and these, and then at the church you had something. Was there any other kinds of activities that you would have done, or is it pretty much those kind of?
It was pretty much those kind of. But we
things.
also visited a schools for kids.
Yeah.
So we did kids programs too. And the first school we went to, we played a game called Duck Duck Goose, but we called it Pato Pato Pollo. So it was actually Duck Duck Chicken.
Oh, I
So
see.
they've never heard of this term like Duck Duck Goose at all before. So it was very new to them. And it was just funny. They were kind of scared of us in that town. And when they'd go by us, they wouldn't like tap on our head. They just like walk right around us and then go and tap the other kid's head.
I see.
It's very avoidant. But
Yeah. So they're shy.
Yeah.
They were shy, huh?
But so after we were done in Llano Grande, we switched to go to another town halfway through. And it was called San Antonio.
Oh, San Antonio is like our town in
Yeah.
America. We have a San Antonio. Oh, yes. So how was that town?
It was much nicer than the town we were before.
Did they have electricity?
They did have electricity. They also didn't have scorpions, which we had
Oh, my.
back over at the other place, which
Oh,
here's
that-
another story if you want to hear.
yes. Let's hear about scorpions.
Well, the first night that we were there, we slept fine, but in the morning, we were talking to the guys, and they said that the house that they stayed at, they found a scorpion in their room. And we were thinking, well, we didn't look for scorpions. So that night, we looked for scorpions. And in Rachel Juvie's room with her friend Megan, they found a huge scorpion just crawling up the wall, and we couldn't kill it or anything because it crawled into a crack. So they just had to sleep that night knowing there is a scorpion over their bed.
Oh my gosh. So that was a little bit unnerving.
Yeah. So we told the guys about this story, and they were just like, oh, don't worry about the big ones because they can control how much venom they give you. And they're less deadly than the little ones.
Oh,
the little ones will just give you all their venom. So they're more deadly. So that night again, we checked our beds. I lifted up my sleeping bag, and the person that I was sharing my bed with, she lifted up hers, and there's just 6 tiny little scorpions crawling all over the bed.
Oh, good.
And we were like, oh, great.
Death is just lying under red. But oh my goodness! So what did you do with those scorpions?
Well, what we did was we took the bedding on the sheet and we wrapped it up and put it in another room, and we slept without the sheet on the bed, but we had
We didn't have scorpion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope not. I mean, they got there on the day. What do they do at night?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So. Wow. So that was more of the little challenge in terms of feeling safe. But nobody got bit?
Nobody got bit. Which
No, that's
great.
the best part. Yeah.
Yeah. There were also just the mangoes over there. It was interesting because there's mangoes and pineapples that just grow wild
Okay.
in that area. And we found mangoes in a tree.
Okay.
And we picked them and we were eating them. And I look closely at mine and I see something like squirming around. It's like a worm or something. And I
sure.
pick it up. And I'm like, oh, we were just eating parasites. I was really scared. So, but it ended up being maggots, which was gross. But we threw them away. And I guess we ate maggot-infested mangoes too while we were there.
Maggot-infested mangoes. That has alliteration to it, but it doesn't sound like a good one for the dinner table. Oh my goodness! Now, was this at the place still where the no electricity and all of and
it was there? So it was just we found out later that you're not supposed to eat them in this season because that happens.
Of course.
So
okay.
we were just like, I wish I knew about that earlier.
And nobody told you.
No warning.
But you did it anyway.
Yep.
Wow. So now then you go to this other city that's got a little higher class of life, I suppose, with electricity. What did you find there?
Well, we stayed at this school and we slept in one of the classrooms there. And right next to the school, there's a church. And that's where the guys would sleep at night and the girls would sleep in the school.
Gotcha.
And it was a lot bigger than the other town. There were a lot of kids that we became close with. They were all just excited to see us.
So they were real happy to know that you were there and whatever you could bring in. Yeah. So that was, did you go visiting homes there too in that town?
Yes. So we did essentially the same with the visiting and the programs there as we did in the other town.
In the other town, yeah.
Yeah. Another thing is that we also had delegators in each of the towns who would kind of bring us around because they knew the area.
Sure.
We'd eat every meal there. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner would all be there with them. They'd provide the food. And I'd say the biggest meal that we'd have was usually just the most frequently what we'd eat is usually just some beans and tortillas. And not really meat very often, but they'd always give us a big block of goat cheese.
Oh, wow.
And it became a little problem throughout the trip because there was 6 of us in our team.
Okay.
And 2 of the guys were lactose intolerant.
Oh,
and
my.
You can't say no to your food. You just have to eat it. But they were just like, I can't eat this.
So that was very mad.
Yes. And then 3 of the girls, they didn't like the taste of it. So they were just like, I can't eat this either because I can't keep it down. So it was me and this other guy, David, who would have to just eat the cheese. And
you were overeating.
Yeah, we were overeating, and I was just stunned with it at the end of the trip. I was like,
that was a little too much. You're covering for them, it sounds like.
Yeah.
to make it so that the hosts were not offended or whatever. Maybe is that idea. So these were the 2 communities that you primarily spent time in? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess one big thing that we did while we were there too was also the town that the San Antonio, the town was celebrating 20 years of clean water. So they had this mass at the top of this mountain or hill, a very tall hill. I don't know if it's a mountain, but we all just climbed up there. It was probably 2 miles, maybe 3 miles away from the town we were staying in.
Oh, wow,
and,
okay.
Once we got to the top of this mountain, it was just beautiful. They had 6 chairs set up for us to sit on, and like right next to the priest, and everybody else had to stand up and sit on the ground. And it was just
really? Wow.
Yeah.
You were on your mountaintop experience there.
Yeah.
And I bet you could just see around everything. Was it like a high view of the town maybe? Or
it wasn't. There was a lot of trees around there,
trees,
but it was quite a climb, and everybody was tired. The priest showed up late too because
I bet.
Quite a hike.
So they were celebrating that they had clean water, that there was a water system then that was keeping the water clean so people wouldn't get sick. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And yeah, it just was amazing to see that. And
I bet.
It was just cool that they were so welcoming towards us, and they had us sit in the front with the priest. It just felt like very honoring.
You were
and
honored. Yeah.
They were just excited and happy that we were there. And it was.
Well, that was historic for them and you.
Yeah, for sure.
My goodness. Now, you were there how long? How many days about was it?
We were in that town or both of the towns?
Both of the towns, and then...
About 7 days, yeah.
Okay. And so you had like 2 or 3 days in each town?
Yeah.
That was how you experienced? Yeah. So then, when that was over, was that kind of toward the end of your time that you were there? And
So,
yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the trip, we were getting ready to leave, and we said bye to everybody. And we got all packed up, got in the truck, and us and all of the other teams that were sent out were meeting in this town, Santa Maria, I think it was. And so we drove off.
Yep.
And right as we were, like, while we were driving, I kind of noticed that, like, the car was just having trouble, like, with the brakes. But I was like, it'll be fine. He knows what he's doing. But we, like, didn't really think much of it at all, though.
Sure.
We were just talking about, we're going to miss it here. And
yeah, I can imagine. That would be it,
we're leaving. And right as we were going down the hill to get into Santa Maria, the brakes just went out. And we didn't notice it at first, but we could tell, like, we just kept picking up speed, and we're like, what's going on? And the kid was he was 19 years old, or 18, I think. And he was just, like, scared.
He didn't know what to do.
And the lady who was in charge of our team, she was in the front seat, and she was, like, telling him, like, don't freak out. Don't crash into houses, don't hit people, and just, like, trying to guide him what he should be doing. But all of us were scared. Me and Rachel, Rachel, and Megan were all in the back seat while we were going down, and we just prayed.
I'll bet you did.
Yeah.
and so, but it turned out that something happened.
Yeah. While we were praying the Hail Mary, we were just yelling it. Nobody had seatbelts on or anything, of course.
Sure,
in another country. But the kid, he somehow, like, managed to turn into the ditch, and then he got the car to twist, and it just flipped over and stayed on the road, which was just a miracle in itself, because there could have been so many alternatives that would have ended up in fatal death. Yeah,
absolutely. And it was terrifying to hear, obviously, that this happened to all of you. And then, as I remember, Kristen told me, she said that you had called and then told her about it, and then you said, and I made the news.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Just making Mom proud. Well, I have to give you the whole story, I think,
of course.
From here. So after we flipped, the car stopped moving, and I was on top of both of my friends, and I immediately was just like, I need to get out of here. The window that was up above was gone, so I climbed out of the tiny window and jumped down, and I was going to help them, but I think there was adrenaline there, and as I got out, it wore off, and I just could tell, my head hurts, my back hurts so bad.
You were really hurt.
So I was just like, I need to sit down. And they got out. There was actually a mechanic shop that was just a block away at the end of the block.
Wow.
Where they came and helped. They
saw it happen, I imagine?
I think they did. Yeah, and they cracked open the window, got everybody out of the truck, and that's where Megan and Rachel went to go check up on everybody who was just thrown out of the back.
Wow.
And one of the guys there was unconscious. Another guy, he flew and he hit a parked motorcycle, and it fell on top of him.
Oh, my.
There's a little girl and her mother who were there too, who were just thrown out. The little girl broke her arm, but I think she was okay after that. We saw her. Okay. And we're like, are you okay? And she's like, yes. Of course. Her mom was okay too.
So there was some injuries.
Yeah. And then David, he was one of the other seminarians there too. He got pretty scraped up. He was just bleeding all over the place, but he was helping out everybody. It seemed like he just forgot about his pain and was just helping everyone else.
So and then you ended up getting some medical attention. Did others as well?
Yeah. So after that, we were getting help from people. There's actually, like, since this was the town we were in, all of our team came and were just like helping us out. And the people in the town were trying to take me away, and they're like, come this way. And I'm like, I can't go. I need like my teammates or somebody to come with me. And so it was just like a little bit of fighting back and forth. And, but I got in a truck and he just sped us to the hospital, which was kind of scary just because we got in a crash. You've been through
a little scary driving as well before.
And he's driving pretty scary too.
Oh,
he was
my goodness.
getting us there quick as he could. But got there to the hospital, and there's the guy there who is the news reporter. He's just taking videos, and they can like go into any room that they want.
So
they don't have any rules in hospitals on like. Privacy doesn't exist there.
No. So you got in there, and I saw the video, that you shared, and that you were in there, and you had a neck brace on, I noticed.
Yeah. My neck got really just banged up, and I have been going to physical therapy for it, but just when we got in the car, somebody gave me a neck pillow. I think that was what was in the video, but I later got a neck brace.
Yeah. But you got shaken up pretty good, and that neck was the main issue as far as
what I got was a concussion in the head. There was like a big goose egg back there.
Okay.
It really like swelled up.
Yes. Okay.
And
makes sense.
Got the concussion. My neck was pretty injured.
Yes.
The neurologist said, and I just had to kind of keep it still and not hurt it too much. My back was really badly just banged up. I had to get a stitch on my left side, my left shoulder, and I got a small compression fracture on L5 on my back.
Okay, on your back. So that was not a good thing, but you got the care that you needed at the time to at least make it back to the United States as you got up here. So you had was it pretty soon after the accident that you got on the plane, or how long was that?
It was I think it was 3 days later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did that get delayed from what you would have come back for, or no? It was the same.
It was the same.
Okay.
Yeah. We were planning to leave the 3 days later, and that's what we did. But during that time of recovery, it was pretty rough. I didn't really realize that I had a concussion at first.
Sure.
They didn't test for it.
Sure.
But
it became evident, and I suppose the swelling started to show up. Is that?
Yeah, the swelling showed up right away, but I was just like, I just hurt my head. It's fine, and I didn't get knocked out, so I was just like, I don't have a concussion. But I started getting sensitive to light and sound a lot, where it was just I can't. Like, we were in loud cafeterias, and I was just like, I can't be in here. And it was just, the next day pain was probably worse.
Yes, I can imagine.
Day. Yeah.
So instead of spending those 3 days probably decompressing and having a good time of getting back to processing what you went through, what you experienced, you were kind of in misery. Is that would be?
It was like that a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
It was not fun, but it also was just, it wasn't fun physically.
No.
But mentally, it was just kind of like, okay, I'm going to get over this. And it was also quite beautiful because we had so many people who were praying for us.
Sure.
And I heard that the people in the villages that we met and had like good, like we talked to, they like heard about it and they were praying for us.
I bet
and
they were very, very sad that you had to go through that. Yeah, and that they were very concerned for you.
Yeah,
so that's how it came back to you, is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very nice.
Wow. Well, and then you came home. Mm-hmm. And then I understand that your boyfriend had a plan.
Yeah. So he had this plan actually before I even left to Honduras. I guess I've heard.
Yeah.
But he picked me up from the airport. We went to Minnehaha Falls in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And we were planning to go down to the waterfall, but I was like, I'm too tired.
Yes.
It's a long trip. And so we just decided to walk like around the area, and he was just acting a little suspicious at first, and I was just like, I don't know, this is weird. He's looking around a lot, and
what's he up to now?
Yeah, what is he up to? And then he said, what was even weirder is, do you want to go walk through these flowers? And I was just like, this isn't him at all. Like acknowledging flowers, no.
Yeah.
So we walked through flowers. Nothing happened. So I was just like, okay, maybe nothing will happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's time to go back to the truck. I'm tired. So we walked back, and while we're walking back, I was just like, I need to sit down for a minute because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So we sat down on this park bench in front of a sandbox, just a kid's sandbox. And I was just trying to recuperate and still wearing my neck brace, and my earplugs were in my ears, sunglasses on for my sensitive eyes.
Oh, gee.
But we were just talking, and I can't remember what he said word for word for like before, but he said just after the accident, like, I can't wait any longer. And he reaches into his pocket, and I just noticed this big bulging box, and I was like, how did I not see that? But he gets down on one knee, and then he asks me, will you marry me? And yeah, I said yes.
And you did say yes.
Yep.
Oh my goodness sake. When I heard that was the case, I thought, whoa, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
And then what you'd been through before. Well, I would call it a memorable experience.
It really is.
In all kinds of ways. And I'm glad you're still alive.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy too. In that moment when we were in the truck going down, I was thinking, I think this might be it.
You never know.
I just had a feeling, and I was like, I think this is it. This is going to be the last minute of my life. And we got down, and like we just kept like rolling, and I kind of just like accepted it, where I'm like, if this is it, this is all that I can do. I can't do anything. So I honestly was like very surprised when it just stopped rolling. And
you were still awake and
aware.
I
was like, I'm awake. I was very surprised.
Yes. Well, that is the most, and I was praying for you when you were down there. I didn't have any clue, of course, that this was going to happen. And when your mother called me and told me of the news, I was like, oh my. And hearing that you were okay was really, really a relief. So I'm glad that we could do this, and the story is now recorded, and we will be able to have this as part of our family history.
Yeah. I think I also need to bring up too. Did I tell you that I thought I was almost going to die another time on that trip?
No.
So I have to start from the beginning. So we at Llano Grande, when we were doing the adult programs, we had adoration.
Okay.
And while we were in adoration, I kind of just like had something I was praying for in my heart, and I was just asking God, like, if you can do anything, like if you can fix this problem, if you can move mountains and you are capable of doing anything, can you put your hands on me right now? Stand right here in front of me and put your hands on me. So I closed my eyes in adoration, and I just put my head down and waited. And as soon as I did that, I heard footsteps from the back of the church walking up towards me, and I opened my eyes, and there's this man there, and he put his hands on my shoulder, and I was just like, God's here. Like, he's right there in this man.
Wow.
And at night, we did like the high, lows, and God moments of our days. We were just sharing that around. And one of the ladies went before me, and she was talking about how this man went to adoration that day, and he said he wasn't going to go earlier. And that was the man that I was telling you about earlier.
Okay.
And I asked her, is this man? And she said yes. And I told them that whole story of what happened, that the man came to me and put his hands on my shoulders. And right after I said that, there was an earthquake. The earth literally just started shaking under our feet. And I was just like, this is going to be it. It's an earthquake.
And I'm going to be dead.
End of the world. I was like on the ground. I was like, no.
Oh, my goodness. So you had an earthquake right at the time when you had this beautiful experience, a blessing.
Yeah.
And then the earth moved.
Yeah.
I would say this is even more memorable.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. You had 2 moments of not sure that you're going to live.
Yep.
That's what I would call facing your mortality and living to talk about it.
Yeah. It was quite an experience. And
you will never forget it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you could tell it here. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. We'll call this the end of our little conversation, and God bless you. And may you continue to be well and keep you safe from all kinds of harm for a long time. And I hope that the young man that put his knee on the ground and asked if you would marry him, I hope he'll be blessed.
Yeah.
He'll be a blessing too, I know.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely a blessing.
That's for sure. Well, thank you for telling me this story, and those of you listening on this Grandpa Don podcast, I hope you have enjoyed it, and may God bless all of us and all of you.